Hello again, everyone. Welcome back to Sid Nickel Publications. The title of this week's video is Write Your Book Now. And the reason that's the title of this video is because there is no better time than to commit to writing your book, sitting down, and beginning your writing. And I'm going to give you a guarantee. I guarantee you that if you follow the advice I'm about to give you, you will write a better book. You will be more efficient in your writing, and that efficiency will probably help you write your book quicker. Although we are not going to ever rush in writing our book. But let's jump right into the advice. As you can tell from my opening, there's no need to wait. So don't wait. Get started writing your book. Don't overanalyze your book, the subject, the outline, anything about it. Don't talk about writing your book. Just sit down and get started writing. And yes, you need an outline. You need to outline your story. You need a good beginning. You need a plot line. You need to check your timelines. And of course, you're going to need great characters. And you're going to need to write some very flawed characters. Flawed characters are the interest point in books. If you need to build that basic plan for your book, do it right away. Get that out of the way so that you won't spend too much time on outlining or planning or analyzing, but you will get to the point of sitting down and starting the writing of your book. Sitting down and writing is the key to getting your book finished. And you might say, I don't want to rush. I really need it planned. I'm just a planner. Just stop. Stop doing that. Nothing is more important than you sitting down and beginning the writing experience. You need to figure out what it feels like to write, what it feels like to say, I need to write today and actually do it. And then you need to say, I need to rewrite that section. I need to edit it and rewrite it much better. That's writing discipline. And it just doesn't come magically. There's no YouTube advice that's going to magically give you that skill. You've got to sit down and write and experience the challenge of writing to get better at it. Nothing is more important than the time you spend sitting down and writing. The other thing I want you to think about is stop trying to be perfect. You're not going to be perfect. Some people say your first book is going to be terrible. Well, I don't agree with that. No book you write has to be terrible if you follow good advice and if you follow sound writing principles and you use good discipline. So I'm a total no on that advice. My first book, A Backwards Glance, I think is probably the second best book I've written. And yes, it was challenging. It took me a long time to write it, and I'm telling you, I beat myself up. I was anxiety ridden. I was frustrated. And I learned about midway of that book that all those emotions were killing my ability to write a good book. And I made a very dramatic change. I decided that no matter how long it took me to write that book, I was going to write it well, and I was not going to beat myself up as I did it. And I think it helped me an awful lot in every other book I've written. And by the way, the reason I feel strong enough to sit down in front of this camera and give you this advice, I've written 7 books here. They're across here and down here. 4 novels in that group. I'm not guessing at the advice that I'm going to give you. And you can agree with the advice or disagree, and anyone else can. But it is my best and most honest advice to help you. So that's where the point of this advice is coming from. A key part of putting out the best possible story, in other words, the best book you can write, is your writing discipline. And when I say writing discipline, of course, I do mean the edit, rewrite, edit and rewrite over and over and over. You want to push yourself forward to not just accept it's okay. If you're writing and part of your book or a chapter or a page is okay, rewrite it. Rewrite it with the idea that it's going to be excellent. Rewrite it to the point that you're going to make it as excellent as your writing ability will allow. Do not settle for anything less than writing your best work. And understand that editing, rewriting discipline is going to be there every step of the way. If you do this, when you get to the second stage of being a self-published author, which is marketing and promoting your book, if you do that discipline, you're going to be able to sit down and look people in the eye and say, I 100% guarantee you this is a good book. It is worth your money. It is a great value because it's well written and it's a great story. And if you don't have that ability when you go out as a indie author, a self-published author, to people and places and events and groups to promote your book, or even on your own social media to promote your book, you're missing something. That confidence will come through you if you follow your writing discipline to that high level. You want to make sure that this book is a great value to your customers. There are some things I believe are really critical in writing your book. And I want to just focus in on those right now. Remember, as you begin your writing, your first 10 pages are very critical. You're trying to hook that reader into your book. You're trying to make them so curious and so interested that they really don't want to stop reading. They want to read your first 10 pages and the first 20 and the first chapter and not put the book away. That's what you want to go for. It's a big challenge. I'm not saying it's easy. It is the challenge of opening your book. So keep that in your mind and make sure that's a focal point of your story and your writing. As you're writing your characters, please remember you need to put them to the test. You need to put them under intense pressure. See what they're made of. Now look, your characters can fail or succeed, and they're still going to be interesting. Why do I say this? Because we can all relate to things like emotional damage from people. You're writing characters. There are people and their flaws can do damage and can harm others. That makes them compelling and very interesting because all of us can relate to that situation. Most of us are just not very interested in a story or a book that says, oh, these guys are just really great. They're Boy Scouts. They do everything well. They never harm anyone, and life is good. I don't think very many people want to read that. They want to relate to, not just, you're not trying to write a tragedy maybe, but you're trying to talk about the real human struggle of life. You're trying to figure out how people can inadvertently hurt others, can hurt themselves, and the lessons they learn and the steps they go through to make up for it. That's interesting. And that is something that brings readers to your material. Never worry about your characters failing. You always can write them into a renaissance. They can turn things around. They can make changes, or you can let them be a failure. That's up to you in your story and how it fits in the plot of your book. If your characters feel deep remorse and learn things, it's just the next step in a very deep and well-written character. Try to build relationships with your social media following as you're writing your book. You want to make sure that you get this social media presence established, maybe as you start the book. Maybe get your book started. Maybe the first few pages are out of the way. And then start focusing in on telling your social media group about your book. Why? You want to build a relationship with them because really and truly, you're trying to create some interest, maybe some drama, maybe some real curiosity about your writing progress with your potential customers. Social media inclusion is very important for self-published indie authors. It's what we need to do to get our following stronger, more interested, and to maybe build that following. That's always a great idea. You want to bring them along with you in your work. The next thing I'm going to talk about is something I get criticized for a lot, and I will never change it. And that advice is, don't ever think you can final edit your own work, because you can't. It's not going to work. If you want to be a serious writer, if you want to put all this time in, all this energy, this creativity, you've written your book and you're going to self-edit it? No, it won't work. Hire a professional. Save your money. Borrow money. Cut out something and pay for a professional editor to polish your book, to fine-tune that book, so that your work, your effort translates into a technically and structurally well-written book. Don't shortchange yourself. And in that same vein, I highly recommend that you go out and you spend the 50, 100, whatever. I think 100 is a good price range for a professional cover. Again, why would you write your book? Why would you take all this effort and energy and put a self-designed cover on it? I've done that. And it's not a good idea. Your self-designed cover doesn't look like your professional cover. You want to be consistent, but you also just don't want to shortchange yourself. Get a professional editor, get a professional cover. It's just the right thing to do. One final thing I want to talk about is just some things to not do. Do not rush yourself as you get to the point of publishing your book. Now, if you're going to go the traditional route and you're going to query an agent, because let me tell you, if you just are going to send your manuscript to a publisher, you're wasting the postage money. You have to have an agent to do that process. Agents are slammed. There's hundreds of thousands of books. There's manuscripts everywhere. But I'm not saying don't do it. Go find some YouTube channels that will help you write very good query letters, do them properly, and get started. But manage your expectations. I've written probably 250 query letters. I've probably gotten a half dozen responses back. And it typically goes like this. Thank you very much for your submission. Currently, your manuscript does not fit our needs or our ideas or our work standard going forward. Good luck. That's great. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. That's just the way it is. Or you might get the letter that comes back that says, we suggest you do this or that with your book and resubmit your inquiry. Any of those things are fine. Mostly you're going to get crickets. You're going to send the letters and never hear from the agents because most of them just don't reply. There's nothing wrong with that. That's the way this business works. So manage your expectations. Don't feel bad. Don't be crushed by no agent following up with you. And if you decide to go the self-publish route, which many of us will, which I'm going to do, and I've done, as I said, 7 times, I'm going to spend my time doing as much as I can to write the best book. I'm going to get a professional cover, and I'm going to have it professionally edited. The other thing that I want you to make sure you don't do anyway, if you go the traditional route or if you self-publish. Don't rush yourself at the end. I have a tendency as I get to the end of a book to try to close it because I am OCD. I want the project finished. I want to put it to bed and I want to move on to the next level. That's what you're doing when you rush yourself. Here's my best advice on that point. Fight that urge. Go back and edit some more. As you get that professional edit back, review it multiple times. Make the changes you want to make, have the arguments you want to have with that editor about what stays and what goes, and work on it. Step away from it for a week. Come back and work on it. Because if you rush it, it will show. If you have the itchy trigger finger of hit the publish button, it will show. Now, if you're one of those people who want to write a low content book and you want to self-edit it, you want to make a Canva cover or any other homemade cover and just have your name on a book, that's up to you. I hope you won't do that because there's enough of that in the world of self-publishing. And it's usually not very successful and it brings disappointment, I think. I would encourage you to do first line, front line, very good work. Put your name on a book, again, that you can 100% say it's a quality piece of material and it's a great value to you as a reader. If you'll keep that different set of standards in your mind, you will more than likely publish a very good book. Now, we're going to talk also about the very difficult part of being an independent author after you hit the publish button. Because what's about to happen is you're going to get the shock and the surprise of the fact that your book is not going to sell unless you promote it. There are millions of books on Amazon KDP and there are millions of books for sale everywhere. You're going to have to figure out a way to promote your book, to stand out, to create a grassroots, energetic focus on your book. You're going to have to talk to people about it. You're going to have to promote it via self-promote it via social media as much as you can. You're going to have to talk to people, talk to groups. You're going to have to become the promotion manager and the marketing manager. So that leads us to the final thing. Never beat yourself up as you write this book. It is a very tough thing to do. It's a monumental task to sit down and write a book and to do it well and have it edited and have a good cover on it and publish it. And there's no guarantees that you'll sell more than a handful of copies. That's why you have to write your book to your standards so that if the book is highly successful, a big win. If the book doesn't sell a lot of copies, but you love it and it's a great book, it's a big win. Manage your expectations as you go through this. I never want to get another comment on a video where a person writes in and says, I am crushed. I am so depressed. I can't do anything to make my book sell. That's a sad thing, and it's unfortunately a very real world thing. It happens. But if you managed your expectations and you knew that you can write it well, you can do all these things, and you might get off to a very, very slow start, but you're not going to quit. That's a different level than being crushed. I don't want any of us to be crushed. I want all of us to be very happy with the books we write. I can tell you this, from the lowest unit seller on this shelf and up here as well, I love all 7 of the books I've written. I absolutely love them, and I think they're great values. And whether they sell or not, I'm really happy to have my name on them. And that's where I want you to be at the end of this. Each one of you are invited to join us here in our writing community at Sid Mickle Publications. I have this idea that we can form this community and we can help each other. And we can do it unlike toxic forums and toxic internet conversations. We're not going to be rude and we're not going to be insulting. We're going to try to be helpful. When I say we, I mean myself and everyone else on this channel who communicates with each other. And you can also send me communications at sidmickelpublications@gmail.com if you'd rather not comment on this video or any other video. I hope you'll think about not only subscribing, but joining us here in this writing community. Put me to the test. Send me your question. See if I will answer it, because I will. To the best of my ability, I'm going to try to answer everyone's questions. I hope we get so busy that I have to back the timing out, that I have to tell you it's a 2 or 3 week delay. It's not that way now. It probably won't be that way anytime in the future. I would be happy if we had a handful of people in our community that we each could help each other, that I could help. That's a big win, just like maybe low unit sales books are something I consider a big win in my writing career. So until we come back next week with our next video, I hope everyone has a very good week. I encourage you to go out and have some fun with your friends and with your family. It'll make your week better. I guarantee that as well. So until we get together again, take care, and we'll talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.